Diggerford Man here. What is it to be an atheist? For this talk, I'm going to be pretending that I have been invited to speak to a large group in, say, a church setting or something of this nature. I'm talking to essentially a bunch of people that believe in God, and they've perhaps never encountered an atheist, or they've only heard about atheists. They don't know what it is, or they who knows what they know. But at any rate, this is like a meet the atheist day, and that's what I'm imagining when I have this speech that I'm going to be performing, if you will, not off the cuff, because I what happens is I'll start walking around and thinking out loud, and what I want to do is do that, but record it, put it on the air. Okay, so what is an atheist? Well, I'm a skeptic. That's my chosen label, and because I'm that label, other labels apply to me. Atheist is one of them. Agnostic also can apply, and maybe ichtheist, although there's some problems with ichtheism, and you might wonder what ichtheist is. I'll explain that later on if I remember. But atheist, you know that is the opposite of theist. So theist is what? It means you believe in God. Atheist means you don't believe in God, right? Okay, pretty simple, straightforward. But there's a lot of misconceptions about atheists out there. There's a lot of ideas about what an atheist is or isn't, or what it is that they claim, or what it is that they must believe, or all these sort of thoughts out there that I've encountered many, many times. And even though you tell people that's not how it is, for some reason, you will see the same person that you just told that's not how it is. You'll see them say the same thing anyways. And it's like, I know that you heard me say this. So why are you still wrong? I don't know. I don't get that. Maybe they have to hear it more than once. I don't know. So maybe this video will serve as that purpose. Maybe this speech will help in that way. So I've encountered a number of atheists in my years of doing YouTube. That's a small group, a subsection of humanity that I've personally encountered. And based upon my experience with those people, I can tell you about that small group of people. But I can't tell you about all the atheists, nor should I extrapolate from that small number that every atheist is going to be like X, Y, and Z. I don't know that. I have no idea. We would need some sort of large polling data sample size to get an idea of what atheists believe in, don't believe in, agree with, don't agree with, whatever. We don't necessarily have that. Mostly I'm speaking for myself, because atheists are like, it's been compared to cats. We're like a herd of cats. You cannot coax the cats to go where you want to go. It's just not happening. They each want to do their own thing. They're not herd animals. If you train them individually, then yeah, you could get them to all go where you want them to go. But that's going to take time and energy, and okay. So one thing about atheists is we don't necessarily say that there isn't a God. In fact, no atheist I've met has said that I know of. Usually they will say that they don't believe in God, that they find no reason to believe in God, that there's no evidence for God, or that the arguments for God are bad. They don't even know what God is or isn't, and just aren't compelled to think that it is a thing. And that the thing that would compel them is not offered by all the religions out there, or at least the ones that they're familiar with or know about. Obviously, why would they look into other religions? Why would they waste their time? And it's like, well, or spend their time doing that? Well, because if they are sincerely interested in finding out if there's a God, they should look. but they don't have any reason to think there is a God to look for in the first place. So they're not going to spend their time doing that necessarily. Maybe they will, maybe they won't. But the bottom line is that for the most part, the atheists that I've encountered and myself, we don't say that there isn't a God. We say we don't believe in God. We don't know what God is. We have no idea. That's up to you to tell us. Then we say, oh, that's interesting. Well, how do you know any of that's true? Because isn't it interesting that the humans are telling the other humans what God is, and God, whatever it is not doing the telling itself. Maybe you believe God is doing that, has done it, and we're just ignoring it, but that doesn't change anything. I don't know that I'm ignoring it, and I should know what's happening in my own brain. If I don't know what's happening in my own brain because I've hidden it from myself, then it's effectively the same as me not knowing that I don't believe, or that I do believe, but it's hidden inside of my head so well that it's the same. It's equivalent. I don't know that there's a God. I don't care if your Bible says that I do know that it's a God or that there's a God. Maybe you're reading your Bible wrong, or maybe that part of the Bible is just wrong. Because I could say the same. I could say, you know, there is no God. And I could put it in a book, and it would convince you just as much as it convinces me, which is to say it doesn't convince me at all. You know internally, just like I know internally, what I know or don't know. I don't know if there's a God. I know I don't believe in it, and I know there's nothing in my head that says, oh, yes, there is, but keep it locked down. Oh. It's not because I want to sin. I don't believe in sin. Sin is made up by religion. It's a disease that then a cure is created for. I don't believe it's a thing. I don't believe that a caring entity would create a situation where sin was a thing that could happen in the first place, unless this creature was limited or not very smart. Then maybe it might create something where things aren't very well done. That's not the situation we find ourselves in. We find ourselves in a world where things aren't very good all the time. Sometimes things are good, sometimes things are bad, sometimes things are very bad. And we recognize that. That's not the only reason that I don't believe. There's many reasons I don't believe. But to go back to the misconceptions about the atheists. No, at least I don't say that the natural world is all there is, or that the material world is all there is. I try not to make those sort of statements because I don't know about everything. I don't know what is or isn't out there. But I do know that we will either we will discover it or we won't. I don't know if we will or won't discover it. But if it's something we can discover, well, then we could discover it. And if we can't discover it because it's in a category that we can never discover it, then we never can discover it. And we would never know it's a thing. And we wouldn't know it's a thing because there wouldn't be any reason to say that it's a thing because we don't have an example of the thing. It doesn't do any good to say, well, maybe it could be. Maybe out there in the universe, there's a hole. And that hole leads down a passageway that opens up into this beautiful, wondrous garden filled with talking animals. And there's this girl called Alice there. And you would recognize it from Alice in Wonderland. And that story is actually was projected by this reality into our reality, onto the author of the book, and that's why they wrote that book. And I could say maybe that's true, but why in the belief would you why would you believe it that it's true? Why? Well, maybe if I got a lot of people to say that they believe that it's true. You might find that a little bit more compelling. If we wrote some literature on it and some songs and we all got together every single week and we spent our money and energy on it, well, you'd have a religion, wouldn't you? You'd have a religion of Alice in Wonderland. And you would find those beliefs, I hope, to be somewhat absurd, ridiculous, strange, questionable. And you would want, I hope, to have evidence that those things are real, not just, well, maybe it could be real. Nobody can prove that it's real, but you can't prove it's false either. So, I mean, maybe. So, why not doubt if you don't have that evidence? And that's what it is to be an atheist, is simply to not believe in the God or gods because the evidence that you have for it is none. The arguments that are out there, and there are arguments, are unconvincing to you. They do not compel you. They do not budge you because they are bad arguments, either logically speaking, scientifically speaking, both, or philosophical mumbo jumbo that you can't understand in the first place. But you're told what God is by the human, never by the God. And the reason for that, well, different people come up with different reasons that that's the case. And I find those reasons to be insufficient as well, for the same exact reason that I hope that you and I would both object to Alice in Wonderland being a possibility out there in the universe. There's a hole somewhere that leads to Alice in Wonderland. We just haven't found it yet. Actually, the thing is, the hole, it's undetectable by science. You can't find it. That's the thing. It's really weird that way. So even if we went to outer space, we would never find the hole using just science, using just empiricism. You just kind of have to believe that it's there. And if you don't believe, that's fine, but the bunny's going to get you in the end, and he's going to eat you. And if you do believe, though, then you get to live with Alice, and she's really cool. And, you know, it's all ridiculous. And we don't believe it because we know it's ridiculous, we recognize it as ridiculous. Doesn't matter if everybody that's part of the Alice in Wonderland religion has a terrific, wonderful, caring community, that they all get something out of this. They all love it. The best thing ever. It's like, man, this religion is so good. It's changed my life. I used to do drugs and now I don't. This thing, I think it healed my leg and my back. And okay, it didn't regrow this guy's arm, but it did a lot of good. So why can't you just let us believe it? What's wrong with that? Well, I don't know. I care about what's true, what can be demonstrably proven, what is real. Well, you can't explain everything. Well, that's true. Okay, we can't explain everything. That doesn't mean that your idea is true. That's what it is to be an atheist. We don't believe this story that you guys and gals have told about God, and you've been doing it for a long time. We as humanity has been doing this for a long time. Different religions have told different stories about gods throughout time, and a number of people have said, no, we don't believe your story. And that's really all it is to be an atheist. It's just to say, I don't believe that story is true. And actually, some of it sounds kind of false, and some of it is rather ridiculous if you think about it. I mean, come on. Really? There's an entity that knows everything and can do anything, but it made this sort of universe? I don't think so. Why? Because it doesn't make sense. It knows everything. Well, then it would know better than to make a universe like this, wouldn't it? Maybe it doesn't care. Maybe it just wants to do it for fun. Shits and giggles. Let's see what happens. Okay, sure. But I don't have any evidence for that deity either, for that creator either. It's just, well, maybe. But then you say, well, no, no, no. It actually loves and cares about humans. What about the other animals that are here? No, it doesn't. Nah, forget about them. The humans it loves. Why? Because it does. Why doesn't it love the animals? Well, maybe it does, but not as much as the humans. The humans are special. Why? Because it made it in its image. How do you know that? Because that's what her book says. Why do you believe your book? Well, because, I don't know. Different reasons by different religions are given that are unconvincing to you as a theist. The Mormon doesn't convince the Christian. The Christian isn't convinced by the Catholic. The Catholic isn't convinced by the Muslim. The Muslim's not convinced by the Hindu. And the Hindu doesn't care because they're going to get reincarnated anyways, and it won't really matter if they're right because we all get reincarnated anyways. So we'll just get it right the next time, maybe. The Buddhist isn't really a religion in the sense that the others are a religion because they don't really necessarily have a god, but they are a religion, at least as far as we term what a religion is. So I guess it's a religion, but it's kind of not because it's a little bit different. And the Shinto thing is its own thing, and I don't know, but those are Eastern religions, and nobody really knows or understands or talks about them, so who cares? They don't count because they don't have a god in them. So put them to the side, because we only care about the ones that are talking about God. Oh, you mean like Zeus and Hercules? And no, 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 no. Those are ancient gods. Nobody believes in those. Oh, no. I've encountered people that believe in some of the ancient gods. I've encountered somebody that believed in one of the Egyptian gods. They said that a cat came to them in a dream. The cat god, whatever the name of the cat god is, I don't remember. But yeah, and so they believe in the cat god and that the Egyptians got it right. Why not? Because, well, it was convincing to them that they chose to believe what they had dreamed over reality itself. They have chose to believe that their experience was enough to convince them that that thing was real. I've met people that think that they know what the Bible says better than everyone else. I've met people that think that they have a special understanding of the Bible, that think that the Bible means certain things if you translate it different ways. I've met people that say God is zero. I've met somebody that told me that God told them that there was no proof of God, and that's how they knew there was a God. And I said, that makes no sense because God telling you anything is proof of God. But to them, it made sense. But anything but a skeptic or an atheist, oh no, we don't. And it's like, but you don't believe in all these other gods. Oh, those other gods are made up. We're okay with Thor being made up. We're okay with Loki being made up. We're okay with Zeus being made up. We're okay with all of the Roman and Greek gods from the past being made up. But we're not okay when it comes to the one God that happens to still be with us in our modern day and age. But the amount of people that are becoming okay with not believing is growing slowly and surely. And churches are noticing this and they're getting scared and desperate. And they're starting to ramp up the apologetics. And the apologetics is an effort to make intellectual what is not intellectual. It is an effort to make faith reasonable when it's not. Faith is not reasonable. It's the opposite of reason. It is believing something that you don't have evidence for. That's what it is. Even the Bible admits to this. It's just people want to, I don't know, but that's not what it is. Yeah, faith is the hope that for the things unseen. See, that's what it is. Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying. That's the problem. I don't have evidence for it. And I've seen that people say that you don't need evidence and that asking for evidence is silly. I've seen it all. just about. Well, maybe not all, but enough to know that there is not the same sort of evidence that we have for everything else for God. Whatever God is, whatever you imagine God to be, the evidence of reality that is constant and continuous from day to day, from when you wake up to when you go to sleep, that evidence that you have of your living room, your dining room, your kitchen, your bedroom, your work area, your workplace, your vehicle, your clothes, your own body, that direct evidence is not there for this God thing. And if you talk to it, it says nothing back. Maybe you get a warm, nice feeling inside, but only sometimes. And man, you have to go to a lot of effort to get that nice, warm, fuzzy feeling. You have to go to church and you have to hear the right sermon and the right music and you have to be in the right mood. And man, you have to do a lot of things to get it. It's not just any time. It's like, well, every now and then I'll get a zoo. And it's all God. And I know that it's God, even though I have no proof that it's God. It's just believe it's God because it feels good. And the atheist says, that's nice. I don't believe it. That's what it is to be an atheist. Now, some have said that we just go one God further, that you don't believe in all sorts of gods already. We just believe in one more God. That's a way to try to understand kind of what it is to be an atheist. So if you were a Christian, you already believe that your God's the it. So if you stop believing in that God, then you're an atheist. Now, if you're a Hindu, you believe in lots of different gods. So you have to stop believing in Shiva the Destroyer and I don't know the names of the other ones, the elephant head one, and all the other ones. Krishna, I think, is in there. I don't know, whatever. And you have to not believe in any of them before you become an atheist. Because if you believe in at least one God, then you're not an atheist. So that's what it is. Well, but you guys, I hear you guys, you atheists, you believe in evolution. Well, it's like, well, no, it's not a belief, first of all. Secondly, really, we're going to go down this road. Okay, all right. So we find ourselves inevitably and sadly defending science to the ignorant who should know better. And this is, I don't know, we could blame education system in America. We could blame education system in other parts of the world. I don't know what to blame. Doesn't really matter. The damage has been done. People don't understand evolution. They don't accept it. They don't want to accept it, or they don't want to understand it, or they forgot about it, or whatever. They don't know what science has done and what it is doing and how it works and what peer review is, and all of that is a mystery to most and something too complicated and too complex for many and something that's just too hard to wrap your head around. And maybe it might interfere with my God belief, so I'm not going to bother learning it because why should I? I just know that all those scientists have gotten it wrong, and I just know that. I just do. I don't need to defend evolution. It's a scientific fact. You got a problem with that? Deal with science. Go get educated on science. Write your paper up. Explain how evolution is wrong. Get it peer reviewed. When everybody says that you're an idiot, it's time to go back to the drawing paper and try again. Then you do that and you revise it and then you submit another paper and that gets rejected. And you keep doing that until eventually you get it that you won't get in unless you have actual proof that it's not a thing, and you don't have that proof because it is a thing. But to do that requires a lot of education that you probably don't have. It takes time and energy and money, which you probably would spend on other things instead. And hey, I understand. I get it. But I don't have to accept believe anything evolution to not believe in God. I do accept what science says because I don't have a problem with science. I don't have I have zero problems with science. The theist has many more, and again, based on my experiences with theists, the theist typically has a problem with some aspect of science because that aspect of science runs smack into where their God should be. We don't know how life began. Actually, we know a lot about that. Well, we don't know everything. Yeah, sure, we don't know everything. Aha! God did the part we don't know about. Okay, and then as soon as we figure that out, then what? Well, then we're going to move God back a little bit further away so you can't get, God started the thing that you can't explain. See, God always did the thing that you can't explain because that's where God is safe. Put God there. God is the God of the gaps. That's what many theists will do. And that's why they say, well, you guys believe in evolution. You guys believe in the multiverse. You guys believe in fill in the blank. No, we don't. We accept the science by and large. Again, this seems to be true of all the atheists I've encountered over time, is that we don't have a problem accepting science. We'll say, okay, that's cool. That's neat. I didn't know that. All right. Even when it's stuff that we don't like, it's like, the free will thing. It's like, I don't understand. It's like now that's still debated. We don't know if there is or isn't free will, but there's arguments going on about that and what that means and how that works. And I don't know what to make of it, but I'll accept whatever it is we finally come to a conclusion about whenever we do. We haven't really done that yet, but I'm willing to say maybe I don't have free will. I don't like that idea, but not liking an idea is not going to stop me from accepting it if the evidence is there. I don't know that the evidence is there, so I don't accept that yet. But that's not a core issue. You can believe in free will or not believe in free will and still believe in a God. It has nothing to do with it. You can believe in evolution or not and still accept or believe in a God. The two are not connected, but too many times I have seen theists connect these things. Well, you believe in evolution and not God. No, I accept evolution as a fact. I don't believe in God. So you're getting it wrong. And you're getting it wrong deliberately because you've been told this before. You should know this by now. Evolution is not a belief. Oh, well, you believe it. Evolution is not a belief. You believe it. Evolution is not a belief, but you believe it. It's like, oh my goodness, are you stupid? Are you thick? Is something wrong with your head, your hearing, or something? It's not a belief. It's a fact of reality, demonstrably demonstratable. No, but you can't explain it. Shut up. You don't know what you're talking about. You get just tired of it. And so part of what it means to be an atheist is just to get exhausted by the stupidity of some of these people that believe in God. And they're not being stupid by believing in God. They're being stupid by denying science because they think that doing that helps their God to exist. They think that if they accept evolution, then that means their God is impossible. Well, they might be right. But maybe that means the idea of God that they had was wrong. That there's some other God. Oh, yeah, that's possible, isn't it? People have said that being with God is this relationship. You're supposed to have this relationship with Jesus. I have a relationship. Christianity isn't a religion, it's a relationship. Okay, well, then in any other relationship, can you not learn something new about the person that you're with and be wrong about that? What? I thought you liked the color pink. No, I like the color gray. Oh my word. I did not know that. Are you going to tell your significant other, your boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever the bleep you got, hey, the thing that you just told me about yourself is wrong because what I believe about you trumps that. See, I know that it's, are you going to do that? Because that's what people are doing. They're saying, hey, yeah, sure, we've discovered that evolution's true, but we're going to ignore that and say, no, it's not true because God is this way and it can't be any other way. Well, then your God doesn't exist anymore. Because you've said essentially 1 + 1 = 1 million. And that is true because my God is true. Well, your God isn't true then, because 1 + 1 doesn't equal 1 million. He said, oh, well, you have to read all these books to understand how to understand this. You see, you're just not looking at it the right way. No, I'm looking at it the right way. Well, you don't know for sure what the answer is. That might be true, but I know what the answer isn't, and the answer isn't 1 million. You don't need to know everything to know what the answer is not. You don't need to know what the answer is to know what the answer is not. You don't have to know everything to know that there isn't a God if you want to go that. And for Yahweh, the Christian God, I'll go there. There isn't a Yahweh, period. End of story. Doesn't exist. Illogical. Can't exist. Its attributes are set to be such that it is an impossibility within logic for it to exist. And I can give you the argument, but first you're going to have to understand logic, which you're going to have to go learn, because I don't know that I could teach it to you. I could try. But most people that I've offered that to that have happened to be a theist, I never hear again from them. They will email me, hey, and I'm like, great, let's learn informal logic. Here's a book. I never hear from them again. Poof. That's it. Because they don't want to do that. They don't want to learn that. It's a lot of effort and energy and time. They're happy with the belief. And I've been accused of being happy being an atheist, or you chose to not believe. No. I didn't choose anything. I chose to investigate my beliefs to see if they were real. Now, I chose to accept the fact that there was nothing to support my beliefs, so I gave up those beliefs. And yet, the theists will say, don't, struggle with your doubts, it's okay, and just pray more and just go back to God more, and the struggle means it's worth what? No, give in. Let it go. Let it go. Let it go. You don't need the faith. You don't. I don't know if you'll be happy or not. I have no idea. I don't know if you'll be better off or not. I don't know. But I do know that then you won't have all these other hangups. You will find that you are like cured of all the problems that you think science has. You'll say, hey, now that I don't believe in God, yeah, I can learn about this stuff now. Like, before, I was scared of it and I didn't understand it, and I had all these questions because I was like, well, isn't that intelligently designed? And that led me down a rabbit hole, and that seemed to support my beliefs, so I grabbed onto it even harder, and that led me to more anti-science stuff, so I grabbed onto that because that seemed to support my belief. And now that I don't have any belief, I'm free to accept reality. It's amazing. The only thing I need to believe in is reality is real. That's easy. but I'm missing out on God. And then that means I'm missing out on an afterlife because that kind of goes with God. Maybe there's an afterlife, but no God. Hey, you could technically believe in an afterlife and still be an atheist. Now, that's why I call myself a skeptic, is because I don't believe in that either. I don't believe in afterlife. I don't believe in the souls, spirits, any of that stuff. Don't believe in any of that. Why? Because there's no evidence for it. Well, what do you mean by evidence? Well, for me, I think it's fairly simple. It's empirical evidence, repeatable test, a valid and sound argument. Any one of those three, and I will believe. If you have the first two, you don't need the last one. And without the first two, I think it's impossible to have the last one. I don't know that for sure. It's who knows? But I have not heard a valid and sound argument for God as of yet, and I've heard lots of arguments. Can't claim to have heard them all, but what I haven't seen or heard is any evidence or test. There's no empirical evidence, no repeatable test. And to say, well, God wouldn't do that, God wouldn't allow it, those are more ideas that you have about God that you would have to justify with evidence. It does no good to continually say that the Alice in Wonderland hole in space is hidden and beyond our ability to comprehend or measure or see or study or whatever, and you just have to believe in it. Well, there you go. That's the problem. I don't just believe in it. That's what it is to be an atheist. I don't believe in your story. Why are we here? I don't know. How did we get here? No idea. Where are we going? Probably nowhere. I don't know. What's the purpose? No idea. Don't know. I don't need to know any answers to anything. And you can't just insert God as the answer. Well, you can and you do if you believe, but I don't, because it's not a justified thing to put in there. The honest answer is, I don't know. But you know what? It seems like science can figure it out. And I'm okay with that. And I'm also okay with them discovering whatever the bleep we discover about reality. Because I'm okay with reality. And that could include a God. It's just it wouldn't be the God that many theists talk about. It wouldn't be this non-provable entity because we would never find that entity because it's not there to find. We would only be able to find an entity that is findable. So the God that can't be found, I'm not interested in that God. It obviously is hiding for a good reason, apparently, or it thinks it has a good reason. It doesn't, but it thinks it has a good reason. And I'm not interested in it because it's not interested in me. Because if it was interested in me, it would say hi. If it can say hi. If it can't say hi, okay, what can it do? I don't know. But whatever it is, it doesn't seem able or willing to do simple things that you and I can do to prove each other exists. So don't tell me that God is secretly out there because you need to prove that. Don't tell me that God is right around the corner. You just haven't looked hard enough. You didn't want it enough. You didn't pray the right prayer. You just want to sin. I've heard all that. I don't need to hear it again. I know I'll hear it again anyways. But don't tell me that. Because what it is to be an atheist is just to be somebody that says, I don't believe your stuff. I don't believe your story. I do know that humans can lie and that humans can make stuff up and that humans can be wrong. I know that. I know that we used to think that lightning came from Thor, or well, thunder came from Thor and lightning came from Zeus, but we don't think that anymore. We know how those things work now. Well, but ultimately God did that. That's nice, but you can't prove it. We can't prove it's not so. Doesn't matter. Because that's not the thing. That thing is to prove it, not to prove it isn't. Prove that Alice in Wonderland isn't. Well, that's we don't believe in leprechauns. We know they don't exist. We know that goblins do not exist. We know that ogres don't exist. We know that dragons do not exist, and that's fine. Nobody has a problem with goblins, ogres, and dragons not existing, but they sure do have a problem with God not existing, because that hits them where they feel the most. And that's the belief that whatever it is that you hold most dear, that you should challenge the most. That's the belief that you have, that you think is the most important. That's the one that you should scrutinize the most, because that's the one you're willing to put out your life on. That's the one that you're willing to fight and die for and do anything for, isn't it? So you should know more than you know about your religion. But here's my other experience with theists. They don't know. They don't know, or they pretend not to. Some of them do know and don't care, or do know but don't want to admit. The scholars, the ones, the experts that study this stuff and have studied it for their whole lives, or the whole adult lives at any rate, know who wrote where when. Well, they know that we don't know the answer. And I love asking the question to theists. I love, hey, oh yeah, you want to quote to me something from whatever book you want to quote it from? Great. Who wrote it? Where? Where did they write it? Where were they located when they wrote it? Who found that? When was it found? Where was it found? You don't know? Why not? I thought you thought that this book was from God. Why don't you know everything there is to know about it? Who published your Bible? Somebody published it. Do you know who? No. You don't know a lot about your Bible. That's interesting to me, because if I thought a book came from God, I would know everything there was to know about it, and I'd have a million zillion links to things about it to show that X, Y, and Z was true, because there's no way I could remember all of it. But why wouldn't the message be crystal clear and simple and not overly complicated? Who knows? But God works in mysterious ways. Well, at any rate, if I really believed that a book was from God, I know more about it than you guys do. Your ignorance is appalling to me as an atheist. I find that disdainful, and another mark against your beliefs. Your beliefs seem to promote and welcome ignorance, whereas mine don't. If you want to accuse me of a belief, then my belief is simply that we should only believe what can be demonstrably demonstrated through empirical methodology, repeatable testing. Those two combined are also known as the scientific method, or a logically sound, a valid and sound argument. And the only way you're going to hope to make one of those is to learn formal and informal logic. Probably the latter is a little bit easier to understand than the former, so I'd encourage you to learn informal logic. And if you don't do that, then you don't know that the argument that you're presenting is a good one, so you're ignorant again, and I find that disdainful. So to be an atheist is also to get kind of annoyed sometimes. Yeah, get a little bit frustrated, a little bit irritated at humanity. Because it's like, come on, guys. Really? We still believe this stuff? Oh, okay, well. And that wouldn't be too bad of a deal if it didn't also come with bigotry. Anti this, anti that. Don't eat this. Do eat that. Don't do this. Do that. How about we just don't hurt each other? That's an idea. The rules, there's 613 of them. I read them on my channel. That's the Christian, well, that's the Old Testament. But the 10 Commandments still count. Really? No, there's 613 of them. They all count. Jesus said so. Of course, Jesus then also said that none of them count, and that he gives you a different rule instead. So that means that the first 10 don't count either. So it's either that only one command exists, which is love each other as you love yourself, or all 613 commandments exist. Which one is it going to be? Well, I want the first 10 and the... No, you can't do that. But people do it. They do it anyways, even though they can't do it, intellectually speaking, makes no sense to do it, but they do it because religion is about picking and choosing what you want. Have you heard of the book of Ruth? No? There's some books in the Bible that are 1 page long. Can you name them? Some people can. What are they about? And then there's things that are mentioned that are just not in the Bible. Stories that are alluded to but never told. And then I ask the question, how was canon decided? Who decided it? Where and how? What was their methodology? When did that happen? Some people know, but many, many, many don't. And I go, well, that's a point against you. Well, it could still be true. Sure, it could be. But the fact that you don't know it puts me off. You believe this, but you don't know anything about it. Or at least you don't know as much as I would expect you to know. Well, what about you? What do you believe? Not much. Reality is real, I guess. That's a belief. Lobsters exist. I say that all the time. I think we can agree on that. But you believe that they came from rocks. Not directly, no. But I mean, I guess you could say that. Yeah, the meteor, you mean minerals is what you're talking about. The minerals that were in rocks, some rocks, not all rocks, but there was minerals in certain rocks that might have come into the water, and that might be a source of some of the elements that we have for our building blocks of life. But there's other possibilities as well besides that, and I don't know which one's going to win out. And I don't know which one is, completely true, but I grant that it's a possibility, just not in the way that you're saying it because you're ignorant. Well, it's never been proven or demonstrably demonstrated. You don't know what you're talking about. We're done. We're done. Go away. You don't know what you're talking about. It does get frustrating being an atheist. And I imagine it's frustrating as a theist because you think you're right, but you can't prove that you're right. In fact, I don't need to imagine very much because I know what it was like to be a theist because I used to be one and I was frustrated. I didn't get it. Why are these people don't believe? I don't understand it until I was one of them. And now I'm one of them. I can't go back because I don't have the one thing, the only thing that the atheist, broadly speaking, needs to believe in any God, and that is the same sort of evidence that we have for every single thing else. But we have nothing when it comes to God, just bad arguments. That's what it is to be an atheist. Okay, so that's my rant. That's my ravings. That's my lecture. Hope you enjoyed. And if you did enjoy, please comment on the video once it's a video, and we will do that. And I noticed there are people in chat, and I unfortunately have to tell you that chat is not transferred to YouTube anymore. I don't know why. So everything and anything that you wrote in chat will vanish and will not be available for anyone to see or know about. So that's why I'm encouraging you to write in the comment section. Maybe I should turn off chats for live streams since this is the case, unless I plan to interact with the audience, which I didn't this time. But other times I do like interacting, and I like Foul Fables. Hello, Foul Fables. Hello, Blaster Master. It's good to see Foul Fables around. I don't know who Vanessa Friedrich is. May or may not have seen their name before. You can celebrate all the religious holidays. Yeah. You get statutory holidays. Yeah, that is another bonus of being an atheist. You can go to any church you want. You don't have to worry about being demon possessed because you don't believe in demons more than likely either. Although technically you could believe in demons and be an atheist, but I've never met an atheist that does that. All right, leave your comments in the comment section, please. Do that. And if you haven't already, subscribe and stuff, and check out my other stuff. I've got a lot of stuff, a lot of content you may or may not be aware of. I have a ton of playlists to peruse, and you might find some interesting stuff there. Got songs, things that I've done, interviews I've done, and all this sort of things. And I do have 2 books, so you can get one or both of those. They might be of interest, caught between an infinite hope and a finite despair, and The Lightbringer, both by Dan Green, which is my fake internet name. That's now my pen name as well. Thanks for watching. Be skeptical. And lobsters exist. had to say the thing about the law. That's the thing I started a while ago, and now I have to say it. I don't know why. Good night.